All right, guys, this is part two. We are not quite to where things went awry last time, and this time I only got the truck. Just gonna be me. We're gonna fly solo on this one, and I'm hoping this one goes off without a hitch. There is a snowstorm coming, and I mean, not that I'm any stranger to driving in the snow, but things can always happen, and it's always something to consider when you're covering potentially hundreds of miles of distance between point A and point B. So hopefully it won't get too wild. There are some spots that it can get pretty nasty, mostly due to icing and wind, because usually when a snowstorm comes, it blows. And so something to consider, but I'm not too worried about it. Looking at the weather, I think it's not going to be too bad. I think it's going to be a few inches, and it's going to be, I think, Monday night. Currently, it's Saturday. The last 2 days of deer season are obviously Sunday and Monday, 29th and the 30th. Here in Michigan, rifle season goes from November 15th every year until November 30th. So, obviously, bow hunting starts earlier, and then we have rifle season, and then we have muzzleloader season. And this is the end of rifle season. Now, a lot of you who aren't from Michigan are going to wonder, dude, look around you. There's literally, like, green acres as far as the eye can see. And that's true. But the problem is that we have what's called the rifle line here in Michigan. And so you can use shotguns, muzzle loaders, obviously a bow. You can use a bow during gun season if you want to. And we have certain centerfire rifles that we can use below the rifle line now. 450 Bushmaster is one of them. The 350 Legend is another option. It's kind of basically a lower power, softer recoiling option for either a bolt gun or a AR-15 pattern rifle. So we can use centerfire rifles down here, but it's just not the same as a 30-06 or hunting with your 270 or your 25-06 or, there's something about holding a real piece of American steel with a proper centerfire rifle cartridge that is just so much more fun. It's deer season is supposed to be an experience and an enjoyable event. And also, too, I'm not born to a family with thousands of acres of farmland that I can just go jump right on. So I don't really have the options that some people have in the area that I'm from or surrounding areas. And it really is hard to get permission a lot of places, mostly because so many people do so much ridiculous stuff when they're on people's land. They're drinking, they're leaving their beers around, they're making a friggin' mess, they're shooting toward crap they shouldn't be shooting toward. Some people just ruin it for everybody. So a lot of farmers are a whole lot more sensitive anymore about who hunts their property, and mostly nobody hunts their property unless they're family or a close friend that is being vouched for, mostly because of liability. So there's a couple challenges that we have to put up with. So really, I didn't have, things are in the works. Money doesn't grow on trees. I'd love to be a owner of acreage. The acreage that I have is not much of acreage. So this is really my main option, and really, it just feels good to be out rifle hunting. It really does. So it's up north. It's just the air is so cold and dense and clean. It just smells good, and it's a nice experience. So that's why we're doing this. And some people choose to drive up to the upper. I have family that does. I have friends that do. Upper has another challenge. Not only is their deer population not as vast, mostly because of limited resources and the wolf and coyote problem that they have up there. They have a lot of problems, and rough winters, cold, bitter cold, iced winters where deer can't dig down and get nourishment takes a major toll on the population. Like I said, invasive activity from predators and stuff like that really takes a toll on how deer survive and thrive in an area. And there's certain regions in Michigan that have truly excellent populations and that don't have the severe winters and have nourishment up the yin yang and also to have, if there isn't nourishment in the field, there's people with food plots and feeders and crap like that to help sustain the population and grow the population past its normal carrying capacity in a lot of ways. So there's certain regions that are just truly excellent, especially considering the number of hunters that hunt in Michigan. Michigan is just, it's an army. It's literally an orange army of people, some smart, some dumb, going out and having fun. So it's something you have to contend with. You have your people that do some really stupid stuff that you hear about, and you have people who are respectful and try to kind of toe the line on what they're doing. And we've all encountered them. But anyway, that's why I'm going up north. I like hunting up there, and it is a little bit of a trek, and it means that I can't go all the time. But for right now, it's the best option. And if I can put together something out of nothing this trip, it's going to feel really good. It's definitely a major challenge to take a deer on public land up there. There's just so much space that deer have to themselves. They can move around, they can bed down, and they don't. It's just a huge challenge. So it's something that I like. This last trip, I didn't have a deer go in front of me in any way. I saw a 4-point running across the road when we were driving out one afternoon, and I saw 3 does getting chased by a coyote while we were driving, and we tried to take care of that coyote, but unfortunately, due to the rules we have in Michigan, your gun has to be cased, unloaded, ammunition separate, and the time it took to jump out of the truck, slam the tailgate down, pull the case out, rip the guns out, slam a mag in, rack the bolt, it just wasn't, it was quite a few seconds short of what we needed to have to even get a hope and a prayer of taking a shot at that little bum. So unfortunately, it probably got a meal, and we couldn't make that happen. So, yeah. So basically, I'm optimistically heading up, and I'm going to be doing some cooking on my little camp stovey thing, and we'll see. I got a couple steaks, and I got some bread to make some ham sandwiches on, and so we definitely got cheese. Definitely got to have some cheese. And I also got some soup, some good old chicken noodle soup. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think that I forgot to get a spoon. So we might be, dumping it in with the saucepan, but I might have a spoon in here. I got a fork and a knife, forgot a spoon. So if that's just the one thing that I forgot on this trip, we're doing pretty well. Come on now. Everyone forgets something, and a spoon is a pretty minor detail. I could roll through a McDonald's and act like I need to have a spoon or something. I might do that a mile. So yeah, that's kind of what we have going on here. Really just trying to have fun the last couple days, and my better half is good enough to watch the fort while I'm gone, and is so gracious to allow me to go hunting, so I appreciate that. She's a great hunter herself, and just the kind of things that worked out, and didn't work out for us both to be able to go to this year, and that's okay. There's always next year. That's the thing about hunting, and that's the thing about everything in your life. You got to keep the most important things to you, and if it doesn't quite work out for things that are less important, you always got next year. So I definitely treat hunting as a luxury and something that is nice to do. I went with my buddy and his son for the first couple days, and I went with her for bow season. We went to a place that we have permission to hunt and hunted for a few days, and I passed a really, really nice 8-point, but it wasn't, I knew it wasn't what the property had on it, so it was one of those things that, in hindsight, you're like, boy, I should have taken that shot. But it was a nice deer, and it, I know that there was better, but one of the things that we contended with was some surrounding farmers were harvesting, and we were hoping that it might push some activity toward us, but I think it might have displaced some activity. So, things happen. It was also really hot. I'm going to do a video on my Garmin Instinct watch, and for some reason it was saying 70 degrees, and it wasn't. It was cold, way colder than that. I was like, it's about what it is right now. My truck says it's 43 degrees. That sounds about right. But, so in the morning it was probably 43, and it will get up to almost 50 by noon. but it was saying 70. I think it was because I was reading my shirt or my jacket holding the heat in around my hand. But it wasn't cold, and it wasn't hot, but it wasn't what we wanted. It was a little warmer than what we wanted to have, and so it is what it is. So I passed an 8 this year already, and I thought I was doing a good service because we had just started hunting that specific location, and I'm like, you know what, we'll let this guy pass, maybe there'll be another one that comes in behind him. And it was basically the beginning of the rut, so I'm like, you know what, he's on a mission, there's going to be other ones on a mission, I've seen several does already, there's going to be more deer coming around, and unfortunately it didn't pan out, and that's totally cool. It was a nice deer. It wasn't, it had a nice body, it was at least 3.5 years old, but it just, the rack was a nice 8, but not a big 8, and so I decided to let her pass and let him pass, of course. And because I was looking for some of the stuff that I've seen out there is a pretty solid deer, and so I was kind of letting that slide. So that's the only spot we can do during bow season. We can't hunt that during rifle season, which is totally cool. So yeah, we're thankful for that opportunity. So yeah, a little bit of overview about what's going on, a little bit of rambling, which those of you who watch my channel are used to my rambling, so either you like it or you don't, and I'm sorry. So yep, we're going to give this a shot, and I'll keep you posted, and this is kind of the beginning. We'll see how it pans out. I did that last time, and it ended up going rather badly really quickly afterwards. So I literally just got done making that one video, the Deer Camp 2020 video. I just got done making the opening, and not 30 minutes later was I making a follow-up to that of how it all went wrong. So it is what it is. I'm not too worried about it. We'll get everything fixed. As soon as I get done hunting, we're going to turn our attention to that camper, and we'll see if we can armor up the structure of that machine and get her button back up. I have several ideas of how I'm going to button her back together, so we'll take you along on that ride, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who found out that there was a little bit more rot than what they expected. And it's a camper. They're built like absolute friggin' garbage. I mean, I was looking at a new one, and it's like 70 grand for this thing that's built like absolute friggin' trash. So that's why I pulled the trigger on the older one for a fraction of that. And, you know, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I get lucky. I've gotten lucky on several things lately. I've gotten not lucky on several others. So we'll see how the luck pans out for this trip, and I'll keep you all posted. And, the weather gets crazy, I'll obviously take some videos, and these tires are probably getting closer to 50% worn, so it'll be interesting to see if we get some snow, how they perform, and I'll definitely document that if that's the case. There won't be any strong, or not strong, but interesting off-roading in this endeavor, because obviously most of the places that I'm going to park are easily accessible, probably accessible via a front-wheel drive minivan. So yeah, definitely don't need the 4-wheel. No four-paw on this trip. So thank you all for tuning in, and I'll try and keep this video interesting. This will be kind of part 2 of Deer Camp 2020, and it's not really, I guess, Deer Camp. It's more Deer Experiment or Deer Endeavor part 2, because it's really just me. So how can it be Deer Camp? Deer Camp has your friends and family along. Anyway, thank you all. Take care. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Have a great day. Guys, I had to interrupt Fredbear, which is one of my most favorite songs. We are passing a very important exit, which is usually what I take. This is exit 202, which is basically the gateway to... Alright, sorry guys, I got cut off. I should have selected Do Not Disturb on my old telephone here. What I was saying was, exit 202 is literally the gateway to everything fun in northern Michigan, whether it's trail riding or fishing or hunting or literally anything. So I was passing that. I'm taking a different way. I'm going to go straight up 75 at Mach 10, and I'm going to stop at my favorite restaurant for dinner, but because our governor shut everything down, I have to order takeout. But at any rate, I'm going to have a nice little celebratory dinner. It'll probably be a burger, but maybe not. Maybe I'll get something else. But so in this little town called Onaway, Michigan, it's a pretty cool name. There's this little restaurant called Woodwinds, and it's literally my favorite restaurant ever. Definitely my favorite restaurant in Northern Michigan. And so that's where I'm going to grab some dinner. It might be a burger, like I said. Maybe I'll get in the mood for something else. But everything they have is good. So if you're visiting up here, go to Honorway and go get breakfast or go get lunch or go get dinner. Everything there is amazing. Pizza's good. The burgers are good. And I think they got chicken parm. They just got all kinds of stuff, and it's all good. Breakfast is really good. It's just an amazing place. Oopsies. Sorry, bud. Turn on my brights for you. So that's why I'm taking 75. So the 75 is going to take me up through Gaylord, and I'm going to get off at a road called, well, the town of Indian River. And there's actually a river called the Indian River. And many years ago, my dad and I took our, at that time, powerboat down the Indian River from Burt Lake to Malt Lake, and then up the inland waterway that spits out in, what the heck is that town called? Oh, not Charlotteway, not Cadillac, it's another C word. For some reason,
it's Sheboygan, you moron.
But anyway, it's really cool. You can take, like, if you had a pontoon, it would probably be better for that, because it's literally just, well, it wouldn't be as fun across Malt Lake. Malt Lake is this really cool long lake that you can go, pretty quick through. It's pretty fun, but the Indian River Inland Waterway is a pretty fun trip. So again, another fun thing you might consider doing here in Michigan is taking a, if you're really ambitious, you can take a canoe or a kayak. It might take a couple days, but we had a 22-foot Boston Whaler with twin Yamaha 150 horse 2-stroke outboards. That was really fun. Definitely didn't need all the power it had idling through the river, because of course it's no wake on the rivers. But on like Mullet Lake, you go Mach 10, and we put in at Burt Lake and then went through the one part of the Indian River that passes underneath the I-75, and then you take that to Mullet Lake, and then you go across Mullet Lake, and it's big and long, and then you get into the river and you idle your way up. There's really cool, I don't remember what chain of hotel oh my goodness, I still can't remember the name of that. It's the major town just west of Rogers City. So I'll look at
Sheboygan, you nut.
the answer to that, but at any rate, and you'll look at a map and be like, that idiot doesn't even know where this very city that he goes and does things in. So there's a really cool restaurant with boat docks right in front of it. So we pulled our boat up and docked the boat right in front of the, not restaurant, hotel, stay in the hotel, and that was really cool. And then we went out and there's a lock between the Inland Waterway and Lake Huron. So we took a lock, and then we were in Lake Huron, then we took there all the way across to Mackinac Island, which was a really fun trip. So there's just so many fun things to do in Michigan. But that exit 202 is really the gateway to everything fun in Michigan, and a lot of people, it's kind of a pilgrimage for Michiganders. When they were like, we're going up north, that's what they mean. They're taking 202 most of the time. They could be, some people's up north is sipping fancy wine in some ritzy freaking subdivision in Traverse City or whatever, but the rest of us that like outdoors and stuff like that, we don't go there. So, yep, 202 is a good time. A lot of people have cottages and cabins along that general corridor, but I'm on I-75 right now, as you can see, 3-lane, 75-mile-an-hour highway. Same I-75 that runs all the way down to Florida. And I'm going north, and I'm going to take you along for the ride. Thank you for tuning in. This is another little segment of the video. It'll probably be a long video, so we'll see how much you guys like watching longer videos. I know that there's some people who like to watch them. There's others that want to have snippets, and this one is going to be for the people who like longer videos. So we'll see what this adventure turns into. Talk to you all later. I went out a little bit out of the way, but it is totally worth it. I got me a Reuben and some hot wings. Gonna regret that tomorrow. But man, this is kind of a final hurrah kind of deal. And we might say this is mostly just for fun, because it basically is. So, yeah, it is about 7:31. Boy, you can hardly see it. There's the bear. You guys need to come up here. If you're in the general area, you really need to stop at Woodward's restaurant in Ottaway. It's amazing. All right, peace out. So we're gonna be making a little bit of a ham and cheese hot sandwich. I think with some buns and some cheese and some leftover ham from Thanksgiving. So see how that goes. I'm in a pretty beautiful, relatively secret place. I mean, it's not really relatively secret, but I mean, I'm gonna bet not very many people know about it. So yeah, that's what we're up to. A little bit of lunch. Didn't see anything this morning. On the way walking out, I did notice some fresh tracks, so I might try a different location for the afternoon. Right now, I'm just trying to warm up and kind of reinvigorate myself. So this setup I've used for a little while. It's actually the first time I've used the Everest stove, which so far this thing is a beast. I have this thing turned way down, and it's still really hot. So you could boil water, no problem. Cook a huge steak, which I will be doing on here, probably tonight for dinner. What I use is, so it comes with this nice little deal to run, or Coleman thingamabobber on here. Well, I just got a braid line from Amazon that had the end for the Coleman on here, so I can run a full-size cylinder. And this works well for me. We use it with barbecues more often, this setup. But this is the first time I've used this Coleman, or excuse me, the Everest deal by Camp Chef, it appears. But I'm pretty impressed with this so far. I didn't realize it was going to be such a beast. But yeah, so we're going to make some ham and cheese sandwiches, and I will get back to you after I get warm. Thank you all for tuning in. Pretty sure this is cheating, but we're gonna make a porterhouse steak and macaroni on the grill. There you go. In the middle of nowhere. So that's always fun. Get the butter all cooked down. Alright guys, we're doing pretty good here. This is cooking really good. I realized that I have the perfect strainer apparatus because I didn't think about a strainer. We're going to use this. I had to pan fry a lot when I was in college because we didn't have a grill, so I got pretty dang good at it. This steak is going to be flat amazing. It's a porterhouse from good old Wally World. It's not a special porterhouse, but it's going to be good. It's going to be real good. And then we got this sucker going, where, like I said, we're going to use the blade end of the hatchet to hold the noodles back while I strain, or while it pisses the water off. I think we got this all handled. I think it's all going to work perfect. Well, noodles are done. We're going to strain those in a second. Steak is just about done, and boy, does it look good. Just simple butter. The store, I forgot to bring garlic and seasoning. I forget some things. I always cook with Lawry's, just my thing. I wish I had garlic, but this is going to be just Lawry's, so it is what it is. I'm going to strain the noodles with a hatchet, and we'll see how that goes. So I'll check back in a second. Okay guys, it is the last morning of rifle season, and we are going out, obviously. We will see. It was pretty chilly last night. It's 31 degrees, and we got a little bit of, it's like a frost snow kind of thing. It didn't really snow. I think it's mostly frost, but it's really thick frost, almost like it's snow. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of a weird deal, but we're still an hour and a half away from daylight or something. So I'm gonna make my way back to my spot. We're gonna see what happens, because it's the last day, but this is the North Woods, and it's not exactly, got high hopes, but at the same time, got to keep in perspective. It's not exactly walking out your back door and pegging one eating your clover leaves in your backyard. Not the same deal up here. I am at least a mile away now from the nearest house, and we're going back way deeper, so we're going real deep, and then I'm gonna walk a good ways. So, there's a bit of snow in the air. Maybe it did snow and the trees caught it all. I don't know. All I know is that it's gonna be a good time. So far I haven't seen any hunters, so I might be alone. I was pretty much alone yesterday. There were 2 other guys in this entire area that I saw. So, definitely not as popular hunt the last couple days. I'm sure everybody had to get back to work. And that's part of the reason I came back and got some crap done that I needed to get done so I could take off for the last couple days. Next year I'd like to hunt the whole dang thing, but this year I didn't have a cabin to stay at, and a hotel room for 2 weeks is pretty stupid, and that kind of fun stuff. So, anyway, it's relatively cold. It's a good thing. Hopefully they'll be moving. Maybe, it'll get them up early and get them go tramp around and look for something to do, get some food. The spot I'm gonna hunt has, it's a different spot. It also has acorns. Looks like there's one truck track back here, which is fine. There's plenty of room back here for everybody. It's probably a good thing. One of the challenges is, I think with COVID, one of the other things we contended with was last year, there was just people upon people. This year for opener, man, there was like a couple hunters. Like, it was a fraction of the number of people there were last year. And that did not put pressure in the woods, and therefore I don't think helped them move. So, there's something to be said too for human pressure helping you as the hunter. It is annoying to bump into people when you're hunting or have someone walk by, but really they just probably increased your chances of seeing a deer because they're going to push it to you. So, looks like we got our normal Dodge brothers. They're always there. There's a couple hunting fools. I'm sure they're locals. They're not really Dodges, but they drive Dodges. So I think that is probably going to constitute everybody who's back here, to be perfectly honest with you, because those guys are, I'm sure, locals, and they hunt the same spot, they park the same way every time I'm here. So, yeah. I think it's going to be a quiet morning. I think that if I do see a deer, it's going to be really fast. I think that it'll be one just passing through by happenstance, and it's not going to hang around. The only thing is, where I'm at, there is actually a kind of a meadow with greenery. And I'm not sure if it wasn't me, I can assure you. I'm not sure if someone came and threw out some throw and grow or something this year. But, yeah, I think there's a theory, or I think there's a plan of why that could be the case. There's a huge chunk of private land back there, and I think they established a halfway food plot as a way to get the deer off their property in the morning so that they can get back onto their property, basically so the deer just don't camp out on their food plots. I think they established a secondary place for the deer to go to in the morning in hopes of them getting off their property. So I'm not really sure if that necessarily works. I mean, it'd be great if it worked in my favor, but I mean, I know that there's a lot of theory behind that, and that Jeff Sturgis talks about that. Oh, there's a deer right there. Ha-ha! Finally saw a whitetail. Oh, another doe. Oh my God, what kind of luck is that? All right, I am really actually close to my spot, so that's a good thing. Conventional wisdom would say get out and hunt right here. The problem is that I don't know any spots right here, and there's a cliff on either side, which probably tells me they're walking the cliff, which is I'm going to a place that has a ridge, and I'm hunting down into a low line, so it might be a good thing. We've always kind of thought they walked the ridge. You guys just saw more deer than or the same amount of deer than I did this weekend. Son of a gun. Oh boy. All right, well, I'm not close yet, but I'm not gonna go show off where I'm turning and winging in case someone figures out where I am. So, thank you all for tuning in. Maybe we'll have some luck, and if not, it's been a fun adventure. Thank you all. Hopefully you had a good Thanksgiving. Alright guys, we just got out of the woods a little while ago. Did not see anything. Though I do have a plan for tonight. It looks like they're staying in the thick stuff, and I think I'm going to bury myself in some really thick woods and see what we can do. I did notice some tracks on the way out that there was some movement behind me down the trail a ways, like halfway in, that they were moving from thick to thick, crossing the trail. So I think they're hanging out in thick stuff. It did start blowing. It was about 30 degrees all morning. It's 30 degrees right now still, and it's blowing a good bit. So they're just doing some interesting things. It's also end of, November, obviously last day of November, so different tendencies. But I just filled up the tank to be safe. I was down at a little bit below a quarter, and I generally like to keep the tank fairly full when it's this cold. And I've never had any gelling ever happen between my Cummins and this, so seems to work for me just to keep it basically full. This last tank averaged out to a little bit over 18 miles a gallon. So total so far I've gone 82 miles. 381 was what it was at when I filled up. Why is this thing not zooming here? Having some trouble with the old telephone. Anyway, so a little bit of an update. I mean, that was 75 plus mile an hour highway, and then basically creeping around in first, second, third gear, on the 2 tracks. So not exactly high efficiency stuff. So 18.1 with 35s, and not high efficiency stuff. I'm pretty happy with that. So, I mean, this truck really does get good fuel economy. So that's a Power Stroke update for you in the video. I'm actually meeting with a real estate agent here in about an hour. I was hoping to do this tomorrow, but unfortunately she had some prior commitments. So unfortunately, I was planning on hunting most of the day today. But I figured while I'm up here, I may as well do that. I've been working on getting a place to call home up here for a while now, and might have finally found a spot, but hopefully I'm having a little better luck with that than I am with deer season, you know what I mean? So thank you all for tuning in. A little bit of a snippet update, and we'll see. Hopefully the video turns out okay. Hopefully I can come home with a prize, but we'll see. I literally got one hunt left, so wish me luck, and I'll let you know. Well, good morning, guys. It is December 1st, and I did not get a deer last night. I did, however, get really cold, because it's decided to just be absolutely nasty here. It's about 28 degrees, and I was just showing you the Derringer. The oil temp was 28 degrees. It's cold here. Plus the wind, it's blowing like absolutely crazy. So I'm going to go down to the harbor, get a couple videos of Lake Huron for you guys. It's a little bit pissed off with a northwest wind. Well, it actually might be a little more north now that I think about it, because the shoreline's got a little bit of an angle here, so that might be a north wind. So needless to say, we were not successful. Yeah, so it is what it is. I had fun, and I had fun checking out the piece of property, and I really have high hopes for that. I'm hoping I'll be able to have a Northwoods Lodge for us to base adventures out of, and yeah, the tire pressure monitor system still doesn't have sensors because it's stupid in the first place. So, I did hand calculate the, I think I said that already, 18.1 or 18, I think it was 18.1 hand calculated, but, so So yeah, I'm gonna go grab some breakfast. It's not that early. I slept until like 8:30 or 9 because, you know, getting up at 4 o'clock, 4:45. So yeah, it was a fun trip, and unfortunately I was not successful, but I had fun. So thanks for coming with me. I wish I had something to share with you besides, you know, that I got cold and that I ate some decent food. But anyway, so I'm going to run and get some breakfast, and like I said, I'm going to go down to the harbor and show you guys the lake, because it's very pretty, and yeah, and I'm hoping to do a little bit of sightseeing on the way home and take my time coming home and bring you guys a place that I really like. So thank you all for tuning in, and if you're still with us, thanks for watching the video in its entirety. I appreciate it. If you'd please give me a like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. So yeah, I'm just waking up here, so excuse the grogginess. I've only had 2 little bitty hotel cups of coffee, which were not enough. Talk to you guys later. It's unfortunately time to head home. I hate to leave because I love it up here, but it is time to get back to the real world. And I got some interesting inside information that, I mean, makes me, I guess, feel a little bit better. So I was talking to a woman when I was getting a coffee in town, and they own a farm outside of town, and she said that they keep pretty close tabs on, you know, deer because they're a family of hunters. And she said that back in October, there was already bucks chasing around does in their fields way back in the middle of October. So that would indicate that the rut may have come a little early, and it may also indicate that, or earlier than, you know, normal. It may also indicate that that deer season was literally the lull of in between both ruts. So it's an interesting thing to find out. It gives me a great deal of hope that might be active during muzzleloader season. So it's an interesting development, and I'm looking forward to seeing if that's the case. But it explains why we didn't see very much opening day and opening following days, and then I didn't see anything besides, you know, you're going to see the video of the several crossing the road and, you know, stuff like that, but not while I was hunting did I see anything. And so it explains why they were so held up. So interesting development, and might explain a little bit about what's going on, but, you know, that's why it's called hunting and not shooting. It's supposed to be a challenge, and it's not supposed to be a, you know, a given. So yeah, well, anyway, I wanted to give a little bit of an update, because when I left the woods yesterday, I was freezing cold and tired, I forgot to make an update when I was leaving. So I left and ordered some food because I was cold and wanted to not stand outside in the 30-mile-an-hour wind and 28 degrees anymore. So it's still blowing quite hard from approximately the north, I'd say. So we currently have wind sort of at our side-ish kind of thing right now. But we're heading basically back down south. Currently we're actually heading west, but that's why I'm saying we got the wind at our side. But so back home we go, and thank you all for staying with me on this adventure. I realized that it didn't end with a giant book story, but that's the way it goes sometimes. There are definitely some times where things don't work out as planned, and sometimes you didn't really particularly have a plan and you were just going to let it flow, and it is what it is. So alright, thank you all, and we'll talk to you later. I wanted to share some thoughts about the that 8x42 Athlon binocular. I hunted with it on a couple occasions during the foresets, mostly because I was hunting a location that I needed to glance through the woods, and the shooting lanes were narrow, but I would be able to see a deer approaching from several directions through the woods, and the binoculars came in remarkably handy. It would have been nice to have seen a deer, but they were very, very clear. I had no problem peering through quite a bit of cover, and the adjustments all worked perfectly. Like I said, the glass was remarkably clear. I think for the money, it's ridiculously hard to beat. Let's see here. The only real annoyance I had was I did have to attach the strap. The little plastic clippy-doos they're a little loose and a little bit slippery for my taste. I'm half tempted to take some really strong thread and use a needle and sew them so it can't slip off, because it would really suck to drop your binoculars because your strap slipped off. Thankfully I was sitting when that happened, so it wasn't a particularly big deal, but that was a little bit annoying. And the objective lens caps are the part that goes around the objective lens itself, not the keepers. They're a little bit loose for my taste. They kind of tend to flop around a little bit, and the rubber's a little bit hard, so sometimes you got to fight to move the lens cover out of the way because it flips back up just with the spring load of the resistance of the rubber. So those are two minor annoyances. I mean, scope caps and binocular covers are a necessary evil in the first place. They're both freaking annoying. A lot of you have, I'm sure, found that out. But the binoculars not only would be useful for hunting, but I was very lucky to see two bald eagles on this trip, and one of them I was able to zoom in nice and close on him and get a good look at. Bald eagles are just amazing. So that was really a cool thing. You could bird watch if that was your thing, or look at wildlife. That's wildlife looking at is also bird watching, but there's a difference between someone looking at a Tweety bird and looking at a bald eagle, I think. But or an elk or a bear or whatever you might be looking at. So nature viewing is definitely handy. I'm going to take them sailing too next year, and binoculars are really handy on the boat as well, whether you're a fisherman or a powerboater or a sailor, to be able to see if someone's in trouble. You can see what's going on their deck from a ways away. You can identify what kind of boat it is and if they're paying attention. Like if you're going to cross paths with somebody and you're on a course of collision, you can look at them and make sure they're actually looking at you. I've seen way too many powerboaters literally paying attention to their company turned backwards with the boat going forwards and not paying attention. That's a very stupid and ridiculous thing that I've seen powerboaters do. When we were looking at buying our powerboat, we were initially looking at buying a used boat to take advantage of the cost savings, and the guy took us for a ride out on his boat. It also was a 330 SS Formula. And he literally was turning and looking at us, not paying attention to, the lake. And we were in Grand Traverse Bay. So, it's kind of an enclosed area, and there's definitely boats crossing paths in that area. It's not like for instance, Lake St. Clair or something like that, where it's big enough where you don't cross paths with 50 boats every time you go out. You might cross paths with 3 or 4. So, to do that on the Grand Traverse Bay is pretty stupid, in my opinion. So we both were a little bit perturbed by that. That was very unsafe and just flat dumb. So binoculars are handy for a multitude of things. If you're coming into a harbor, or if you're trying to see if a harbor master is in his room, if you're trying to hail a harbor master, and you're there's 1,000 different ways to use binoculars. If you're sailing, you can snoop a little bit on your competitor to see how they have their sails trimmed, if they're getting a lift or a knock, or there's several useful things you can use binos for on a boat, and I think that the 12 power ones that I got are going to be the best bet for the boat, just because of the extended distances. But the 8 power for hunting, I think, and also wildlife viewing, is exceptional as long as the creature is close enough where you're going to get the detail you want to have. The bald eagle wasn't that far away. If it was double the distance that it was, definitely a 12 power would have been the bee's knees. Instead of seeing an outline of the bird and knowing it's there, you'd actually be able to see his eyes with 12 power. So it's one of those trade-offs. If you could have binoculars, and I'm sure somebody makes them, and to be honest with you, I've never actually seen them, that have multiple zoom, so like a variable power scope. If you had a variable power binocular, that might be really handy. If you could have something that went down to 2 or 3 power and went up to 12 power, man, that would be an incredible ocular device for hunting and for just in general. The other thing that I have to say about binoculars is I really wish that we would normalize having a mill or a MOA reticle in binoculars. There's absolutely no reason why there can't be one tucked off in the corner, and for us shooters and hunters, it would be excellent to be able to range a target, because a lot of our hunting scopes don't have multiple retentions. They might be a duplex or a they might have a couple MOA dots, but usually those dots are strategically placed for to 0 at 100, and then 200, 300, 400, and 500. So they're not equally spaced dots, and obviously you could look up the measurement and memorize it, but they're for hunting distances. It's going to be a little bit more of a challenge to use those, simply because the chances of you finding the right measurement is kind of low. And the first dot to get 200 yards is probably going to be closer to 2 MOA from the crosshair in most cases. So, it's not ideal. You really want to have half and quarter, preferably quarter MOA and mill, but definitely half MOA increments too. And like a normal BDC scope, like a Nikon or a Vortex or whatever, that's not going to give you that. And on a duplex scope, you don't really have too much to work with besides the width of the lines and the width of the bases of the lines. So it would be nice if binoculars would have, and obviously some do. I really wish that more did. I don't own one. I own a spotting scope with a mill reticle etched in it, which is awesome. And obviously spotting scopes are zoomable scopes. I think mine is it's 8 to 20 or something like that. I think 8 to 28, 8 to 24, something like that. So that's a spotting scope, though. That's not a pair of binoculars. So it'd be cool if we could scale down that zooming capability into a binocular sized. But I'm getting off track here. I am ridiculously impressed with the Athlon. I think that if it holds up to hunting scenarios, I think that it's a ridiculously good buy. I've looked through a lot of different scopes, some higher end, binoculars. I've looked through some higher end Leopolds. Obviously I have the Razor HD. I've looked through a Viper. I gotta tell you, that Athlon is right with a Viper. It's a Vortex Viper. It's really an incredible bit of optical work. And, Vortex stuff's produced in China, just like this one is. So you got to keep that in mind, that only tier 1 optics, number one, as far as I know, the only optics 100% made in the USA, glass, the whole 9 yards, is US optics. The rest are going to have Japanese glass if they're tier 1 or almost tier 1. Like as far as I know, the Viper PST and down, as far as I know, is Chinese glass. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the Razor HD is Japanese glass, and the Japanese glass is the same glass that's used in Night Force optics. So Night Force is Japanese, and as far as I know, the Night Force is assembled in Japan, as is I believe the Razor HD is also assembled in Japan. But I guess I'd have to look at it. And the Leopolds are using Chinese, glass. Unless you're getting into the high-end stuff, and they're, as far as I know, made in the USA in terms of, or assembled in the USA, and as far as I know, the scopes are turned out of aluminum in the United States and all that fun stuff. So, but the glass is still Chinese, as far as I know. So, something to, obviously not the higher end, the Mark V and all that fun stuff, but I think those are Japanese glass in the same factory as the Vortex and Night Force, but I'd have to look at it a little bit deeper, so don't quote me on that. So, and it's not really necessary. I'm not trying to create a whole, you got to be afraid of Japan, of China, because, there's, when you build something to spec, you build it to spec. It doesn't matter where you built it. Now, you could want to send your money to certain places, and I definitely try and do that. I definitely try and send my money to the United States when I buy things. But the unfortunate reality is that a lot of manufacturing has been shipped overseas because of taxes, regulation, all that fun crap. And to have a giant building in the United States to, say, forge wheels or mill wheels and all that crap, or, especially like truck wheels, there's very few made in the United States, and those that are double or triple the price of foreign wheels. My fuel's in this truck, and the methods are made in China. So, and I actually wrote them and asked them, like, hey, with stuff that's going on, would you think twice about bringing the manufacturing to the United States? And they said, we can't. It doesn't make cost-effective sense. We'd have to charge way more for our wheels, and we're not planning on leaving China for the time being. So, a lot of your favorite brands are really Chinese brands, and most of the clothes that you wear are made in China. It's not necessarily that we need to be afraid of that. There's a very good reason why the word is core competency. If the United States is really good at assembling a Chevy pickup truck, and obviously a Chevy pickup truck is probably more profitable than the shirt on my back, right? So why would you want to limit American workers to making shirts when they could be building Chevy pickup trucks or Ford pickup trucks or whatever? My truck was built in Kentucky. The Power Wagon was built in Mexico, and most Chevy trucks are built, at least 2500 HD and up, are built in Flint's plant. So, why would you want to limit the American worker to making something that's less profitable so they make less money? At the end of the day, the worker's value is based upon the amount of product that they kick out in that hour. So, you don't just make up people's salaries. You can't just say, oh yeah, you're worth $18 an hour because I say so. Well, you got to actually bring that much value to the table, to the business. So what I'm getting at is, the real reality is that the core competency of the United States is a lot of designing and a lot of engineering in general. And once you have those numbers and you have those dimensions, you have that material picked out. The material and the machining, you're just putting material into a machine and you're kicking out a product, generally in a system that's generally set up by Americans. So when products are made overseas, it's generally Americans that go over there, set up these businesses, and then they're cranked out by the Chinese. So there's a lot of here and there, and a lot of reality versus not reality when it comes to foreign, offshore production. But I'm not going to sit here and whine about it, because what am I going to do? Instead, go buy a $3,800 US optics scope? Yeah, I can definitely afford to buy 5 of those for sure, right? So, there's something to be said for that. But anyway, for the money and for the 8 power is super light. I had in my backpack. I have this it's a relatively light KUIU backpack. I think it's called the ultra light hunting bag. or something like that. It is ultra light, and the binoculars did not weigh the bag down. I usually hunt with a bottle of water and a headlight, and then I have a knife on me. My pocket knife is sharp enough that, I mean, I've gutted so many deer with my pocket knife, it's ridiculous. So I don't really get all bent out of shape about having a fancy full tang, hunting knife until I have one in my truck. So when I get back, you can butcher your deer with, a proper knife. But my pocket knife does everything I need to do. My little Kershaw Blur, it's sharp and it does a wonderful job for gutting. I mean, you don't need to have a super precise knife for that. It just needs to be sharp. So, anyway, I got a little, as usual, getting off track here, guys. So, those are my thoughts about that 8-power Athlon. Like I said, I've used it, and now I've hunted several sits with it. And the biggest test now, I think, initial quality and, optic quality is spectacular. Now, the question is, will it hold up? So that'll be the real test here. I'll be going hunting, muzzleloader hunting, so it'll be colder than sin. And that's definitely going to require some binos, because generally, well, at least the way that I do it definitely would be peering through the woods. It just, everybody's a different style, what they want to do. Sometimes, I mean, people who hunt 10 feet away from a food plot, they have a different set of requirements than, somebody hunting in open woods and hoping to catch deer passing between bedding areas or between food sources. So, there's something to be said for each type of hunting. So I'm not going to get into that necessarily, but binos, or those binos, were great. They're super light. They're low profile, fit in the bag super easy. So I'm very pleased with their general functionality. And if they hold up, I think it's a great buy. As of right now, I see no reason why they shouldn't hold up. They seem to be machined well. They seem to be, all the functions seem to be tightly held down. They seem like strong controls. They seem like strong controls on the binocular, so I see no reason why there would be any problem with them. So I want to thank everybody for patronizing the channel. Or patronizing, is that even the right word? Being a patron of the channel. I don't even know. Whatever. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you giving me feedback. So thumbs up if you like it, please. And if you would, I always say this because it is important. It's ridiculously important for YouTube creators to ask for subscribes, because subscribes are ridiculously important in terms of growing your YouTube channel. So in the algorithm of showing your video for people to watch too. So the more likes, subscribes, that kind of fun stuff, the more watch time you get, the more people are going to watch your stuff. It's a vicious cycle. So in this case, a very positive cycle. So I appreciate your time, I appreciate your likes, and I appreciate your subscribes, and those of you who have commented and asked a question. I love that. I really enjoy answering. So yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free. I am a big gun enthusiast, and I reload. I consider myself a pretty good marksman, though due to YouTube policies and all that crap, I'd really kind of keeping this a little bit more about non-gun related stuff. So feel free to ask a question. If you got a question about a rifle scope and you're, whatever, feel free. I'm happy to share experience, but generally staying away from the whole gun stuff. There's plenty of perfectly adequate channels that do that, and whoopsies, come on, Doug, no rumble strips now. Yeah, so thank you everyone, and please like, subscribe, and give me some feedback. Let me know how I'm doing. So take care of yourselves. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. I had a lot of fun at Thanksgiving, and I had a lot of fun going hunting, and I'm glad that you guys came along. So I think we're going to try, barring it being closed, stopping somewhere that I really wanted to show everybody as part of the video too, as kind of like a capstone of the video, and then, that'll be the end of the video. So thank you all. Well, guys, I'm back in the general location where I'm from, and I didn't have any snow above Bay City, but once I got below Bay City, I could see the cloud that made the lower part of the state get a little bit snowy. And this isn't much snow, but I'll tell you what, it's actually pretty freaking slippery. So these are pretty worn out grabber. I mean, they're 50% now, but 50% in a mud tire is pretty worn out. It gets down to some pretty hard rubber. and there's not too much for it. The difference between a brand new one and 50% is a pretty big difference, a lot bigger difference than like 75 to like full, like 75% tread is still a lot of tread in terms of actual performance. So it's definitely got to be careful. So I'll touch the brakes a little bit. I have a good bit of grip, but like you can definitely see it locked up a couple times there. So something to be cognizant of. With so many people around, I won't step on it. I'll wait till I have no one around. But it's pretty slick. This is like iced on the road. It's about 30 degrees. Well, that's what the truck says is 30 degrees. So it's below freezing, and the sun, or well, I guess there's no sun load. Maybe that's the problem. It's quite overcast. So definitely a little bit of a I'll let you know when you're at about 50%. I mean, not that I honestly don't think any other tire would do any better right now. Even a snow tire is going to have, I mean, snow tires are great. They're excellent. But it's not like you just gained like all your summer traction back. You still are going to have less traction in the snow. They're better, but they're not, they're closer to normal than a mud tire is in the snow, but it's still a long way from normal. So something to consider. Looks like that person's going to do that, so I'm going to slow down and give him plenty of space in case he buries it pulling into his driveway. You never know with people. Leave him some. Alright. Once this car goes past, I'll give it a bit of a burp and see how much traction we have. That's probably quarter throttle, just downshift. Oh, hello. Yeah, she's spinning like crazy. So, yeah, it's pretty slick out here. So, didn't have any snow until now, so that's cool. But yeah, so I mean, this is still these tires are still totally drivable in this weather. Just something you always got to be cognizant of. Is especially when the first snow of the year comes, how little traction you do have, especially under braking. I mean, it's one thing when you're trying to accelerate and it's like, oh yeah, can't accelerate that well. But when you need to use the brakes and you don't have them, it's something to consider. So always test your brakes when no one's around, like I did back there. Gave it a little bit of a boot, just to test the brakes and make sure to see how much traction you do have, so you can base your following distance off that. Excuse me, I leave a lot of following distance. I am not interested in tailgating, and I probably leave too much, but I don't really think there is too much. So yeah, well, thanks for everyone for coming on the adventure. I decided because of this, I wanted to get home to my girlfriend and some baby, and I didn't want to be rude and stay out too late. It's only 4 o'clock, so getting pretty close here, and that way I'm not, being rude and staying out. So I really wanted to stop at a spot that I wanted to take the channel to, but there's always next time for that. There's always a next time. So it's more important to get back to family. And so yeah, so this has been a fun trip. It hasn't been super productive, but I had a lot of fun. So thanks for coming along, and please remember to like and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and have a nice New Year and Christmas. They're doing pretty well for the conditions, I gotta say. Well, I want to thank all of you for staying tuned for this whole endeavor. I was hoping to conclude it with a kill, but it is what it is. Like I said before, it's called hunting, not shooting. So yeah, thank you all, and hopefully you had fun. I had fun, and we had fun together. So take care of yourselves. Have a great holiday, and enjoy your New Year. Please. If you liked it, give me a like, and if you'd like, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. There'll be lots more adventures ahead, and these grabbers just eating up this slippery stuff. Anyway, take care all. How well do you guys think the truck stops in this? Let's find out. Not too bad, but it's definitely slippery. Got gotta plan ahead. Keep your following distance in the snow, guys. No amount of snow tires or whatever is gonna change. You are not gonna stop as well as you do on, dry pavement. So take care of yourselves. Drive safe this winter.